What's up, guys? LQ here with the LQ Review, and I'm here with the X-Man,
Hi.
and we are going to rank our top 5 Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, our top 5 MCU movies. So I'll give my number 5, and then the X-Man will give his number 5, and then I'll give my number 4, the X-Man can give his number 4, and we'll just work up to number 1, all right?
Okay.
So, my number 5 is Avengers Endgame. Yep, my number 5 is Avengers Endgame. Great movie. I felt like the first act, the second act kind of drug a little bit, but it all paid off with the last hour. The last hour was the best single hour in any MCU movie, and it just tied 10 years worth of storytelling, 11 years worth of storytelling up in a nice bow. And I loved Endgame, and it's my number 5. What's your number 5, X-Man? What's your number 5?
Civil War, because it was just pretty cool, and with all the superheroes fighting each other, and when Vision tried to shoot what's his name, Falcon's wings, he accidentally shoot War Machine's thing that makes him fly, jetpack.
Yep.
And then he fell down.
And what's nice about that is the MCU has lasting consequences. So War Machine, the rest of in the rest of the series, he's been in his suit where that helps him walk.
Yeah.
Yep.
I really like that.
Anything else you like about Civil War you want to talk about?
I like that Captain America was beating up Iron Man because I didn't think he could have done that, and I can't believe that he left a shield for Iron Man.
Yep. So Civil War is not one of my top 5, but it's a great MCU movie. And yeah, the final scene with Cap and Bucky versus Iron Man, intense scene. And then at the end when he runs his shield into Iron Man's armor, I just feel like, yeah, that was intense. And Civil War is probably my number 6 or number 7. But yeah, so my number 5 was Avengers Endgame. X-Man's number 5 was Avengers Civil War. Sorry, Captain America Civil War. Let's move on to our number 4. My number 4 is Avengers Infinity War. Yes, Avengers Infinity War is ahead of Avengers Endgame. I feel like Avengers Infinity War is a better overall movie than Avengers Endgame was. Now we're talking by fractions here. They're both great movies, but I just feel like from beginning to end as a tight story, I say it's a tight story and there's just so many characters. It was overloaded with plot. But I feel like a front to end viewing experience, I just enjoyed Infinity War a little bit better than Endgame. How about you? What's your number 4?
Mine is Age of Ultron.
Avengers Age of Ultron.
Because Vision, he was made, and Ultron, he was made from Tony Stark, and I was not expecting that, and I wasn't expecting the Hulk going raging out, and so Tony Stark had to get the Hulkbuster.
Yep, and Avengers Age of Ultron is not in my top 5 either, but that was a show-stopping scene.
Yeah.
Iron Man versus the Hulk in Iron Man's Hulkbuster armor. Great show-stopping scene. And yeah, I think Avengers Age of Ultron gets a bit of a bad rap as being the worst of the Avenger movies, which in my opinion it is. In his opinion, it's a really good movie. And I think you'll find a lot of people who have that opinion also. If you really talk to people online, you'll find that a lot of people love Age of Ultron, like this dude does. All right, so my number 4 was Avengers Infinity War. His number 4 was Avengers Age of Ultron. Let's go to our number 3s. My number 3 is Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one. I just think that is a hoot from beginning to end. Just a great movie. It was our generation's Star Wars. Now, I say our generation in a guy who grew up with the original trilogy, so I don't know if that's necessarily my generation, but it's his generation Star Wars, I would say for sure. It's a space-going adventure with dynamic, fun characters, and it's his generation Star Wars. There's no other way to put it. So yeah, for me, number 3 is Guardians of the Galaxy, and it expanded the MCU. It expanded the MCU even further than Thor had, because Thor expanded the MCU to Asgard. This expands the MCU to cosmic proportions. So for me, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. What is your number 3?
Winter Soldier because of all the action and when Bucky got um um brainwash and all that. I just love the plot and all that.
Yep, and Winter Soldier is a very good movie, Captain America: Winter Soldier, and we talk about how the MCU plays with genres, and Captain America: Winter Soldier is a spy. It's like a 1970s spy thriller set in the MCU, and it's a fantastic movie. The interplay between him and Bucky throughout the course of the movie. What I like about it is that there wasn't resolution in Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier was the enemy up till the very end of the movie. He was the antagonist. Now, granted, the director, I forget the director's name, played by Robert Redford, he was the main antagonist. But the Winter Soldier was definitely a primary antagonist throughout the course of the movie, all the way to the end. He didn't switch sides at the end during the conclusion. He was the villain that Captain America had to fight. And I love that we didn't get our resolution until Civil War. And it was a great resolution. So yeah, Winter Soldier is a fantastic movie. Good choice at number 3. So my number 3 was Guardians of the Galaxy. X-Men's number 3 was Winter Soldier. Let me give you my number 2. My number 2 is the first Avengers movie. This movie changed comic book movies. It proved that this shared cinematic universe could work, it could be successful, and they could pull it off. The the middle part of the movie was a little bit clunky. Loki's plan to release the Hulk was a little bit. There's a lot of circumstances lining up that took a little bit of suspension of disbelief. But I gotta tell you guys, the Battle of New York is still the pinnacle of the MCU. Even now, I think that without that Battle of New York, we wouldn't get the Battle at Avengers headquarters in Endgame. The first Avengers movie was phenomenal, and it's still kind of the for me the standard for Avengers movies. The first Avengers. So that's my number 2. What's your number 2?
Infinity War.
Okay, so Infinity War is your number 2. Explain why.
Because it was working up to Endgame, and it was just a good movie. I can't believe it fit all that action in one movie, all the stones in one movie, having to get all the stones and all of it, and now he had Vision is dead, and Doctor Strange doesn't have his stone anymore. So.
And Vision's still dead.
Yeah.
Even after Endgame, Vision's still dead. What I think that the obviously the heart of Infinity War lies around 2 different stories. Number 1, you got the Battle of Wakanda. The Battle of Wakanda was show-stopping.
Yeah.
It ranks right up there with the Battle of New York, the Battle at Avengers headquarters in Endgame, as just one of the best action sequences. For me, it's better than the airport scene in Civil War. It's just a great action sequence. Thor's arrival with Groot and Rocket, it just took your breath away and made you smile. So yeah, the Battle of Wakanda, and then obviously the Battle on Titan with Iron Man, Star-Lord, Drax, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, with that team taking on Thanos. And they held their own against Thanos. Yeah, he beat them, but they held their own against him. And for me, in that fight, Doctor Strange was the MVP. Doctor Strange was the MVP because he himself held his own against Thanos. Yeah, Tony Stark drew blood, but Doctor Strange was fantastic, and that made me a Doctor Strange fan because I wasn't particularly a huge fan of the Doctor Strange movie, but that sequence on Titan made me a fan of the Doctor Strange character. So, great movie, Infinity War. That's a great choice for number 2. So, again, my number 2 is The Avengers. His number 2 is Avengers Infinity War. Finally, let's get to our number 1s. My number 1 is Captain America: The Winter Soldier. I just think it's a fantastic movie. I think as far as storytelling goes, Captain America: The Winter Soldier is the best story in the MCU. It doesn't have the same show-stopping scenes as some of the Avengers movies does. It doesn't have the same epic battles or even the same epic stakes as some of the other Avengers movies does. But Winter Soldier changed the MCU. It saw the fall of S.H.I.E.L.D., It saw what ultimately ended up being more or less the defeat of Hydra. Winter Soldier had a lasting mark on the MCU, but more than that, just a great story. Narratively, just a great story. Winter Soldier is my number one. What's your number one?
Endgame, and I have some spoilers if you haven't seen Endgame.
Okay.
When Tony Stark died, that was emotional for me because,
Yep.
and then at the end of the movie, with the backlash, I think, the little trailer thing, it showed Iron Man making his first suit.
Yeah, the sound that you heard.
Yeah. I love that.
Yep.
And when Thanos destroyed all the Infinity Stones with a snap, I love that. And when they find Thanos and kills him, I love that too. And when the big battle when Captain America, Avengers, assemble.
That was a huge moment.
Yeah, and when Captain America had Thor's hammer and hold it.
Another huge moment fans were waiting for.
I was loving it.
Yep, very cool.
And I can't. Me and my mom didn't believe that Thor was gonna be that bad. I wasn't expecting that. I was not like this skinny, this fat.
Yep. You know, Endgame is my number 5, but I can't argue with anybody who puts it at number 1. It's such a powerful movie, such a strong finish to 11 years worth of storytelling. And actually, Spider-Man: Far From Home is going to be the end of Phase 3. It's going to be the end of the Infinity Saga. But for me, it's going to be, obviously Endgame is going to be that climax, and Far From Home is going to be that falling action. If you look at it from a storytelling arc, but Endgame, what an exclamation point on just a fantastic run that the MCU has had. So let's recap. My number 5 is Endgame. Number 4 is Infinity War. Number 3 is Guardians of the Galaxy. Number 2 is The Avengers. Number 1 is The Winter Soldier. For X-Man, number 5 is
Civil War.
Number 4 is
Age of Ultron.
Number 3 is
Winter Soldier.
Number 2 is
Infinity War.
And your number 1 is
Endgame. Woo!
Awesome. I'm LQ with the LQ Review. This is the X-Man. We are so happy that you are here joining us on the LQ Review. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers. I'm really close. You can help me by hitting that button. And as always, we appreciate you being here at the LQ Review, where we get to talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff that we love to talk about. And until next time,
I hope you have a good day.
We'll see you later.